Hello, I hope you're well. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's reading vlog, which is my historical romance reading vlog. So in the last year or so, I've really started to kind of explore the romance genre a little bit more than I have in the past. To be honest, The Kiss Quotient last year was probably the first romance novel that I had read in yonks. I vaguely remember a friend of mine making me read two Nora Roberts books back in college because she was obsessed. And that was probably the last time that I read a romance book in general. I have romance in books, but that's not necessarily the focus. But I digress. The fact of the matter is that I'm here because I want to talk about historical romance. So yes, I'm trying to explore the romance genre more widely, but I felt like a really good place to start would be with historical romance because I'm already a historical fiction reader, so it seemed like a natural progression. But I know very little about the romance genre. The only historical romances that I've read recently would be the Evie Dunmore books, which I really loved. But I know nothing about the other authors in the genre. I really don't know anything about the tropes that I might like or dislike, so we're kind of going on a journey. Yeah, that was really the crux of it. I figured, let me pick a few historical romance novels, read them, see if I gauge what tropes I like, what authors might be added to my TBR, if I even like the historical romance genre. But as you'll see when I talk about the books that I'm going to read for this vlog, a lot of these were inspired by the Evie Dunmore books because basically I needed to fill a void, people. A void that was left between when her last book was published and when the next release is coming out. I didn't know what to do with myself, so I just searched out some more historical romances, saw that a lot of these books were compared to Evie Dunmore, and was just like, put them in my cart please, and voila, here we are with 3 historical romances for me to vlog the reading process for. As for the books that I plan to read for this reading vlog, we have A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem by Amanda Collins, which I think I picked up because online I saw it compared to Evie Dunmore's books. And from what I know about this is that there is a female reporter in Victorian England, and she's getting in the way of a detective who is investigating murders, and there seems to be this enemies to lover type trope going on here between the two characters because he thinks that she's getting in the way, and perhaps she is. To be quite honest, she probably is, but she's also probably a really brilliant investigative reporter and deserves to be there. So, yeah, that's what this book is. Then, oh, and I love the little tagline, of all the crime scenes in all the world, she walks into his twice. So that just sounds like it's gonna be a ton of fun. Then I also have A Lady's Formula for Love by Elizabeth Everett, which is also a historical romance set during the Victorian era, and the main character is a female scientist who is part of a society of female scientists, and she's doing something for the crown. She's on some sort of mission, and the love interest is her bodyguard or something of that sort. So again, Victorian era, which I seem to be partial to. The Evie Dunmore books were also the Victorian era, but this again was a book that I vaguely remember being compared to Evie Dunmore when I was looking for books online. And then the last of the books is one that I'm hoping will come in on Libby sooner rather than later because I plan to listen to it as an audiobook, but it's called Mr. Malcolm's List, and it's by Suzanne Allen, I believe is her name. But it's set during the Regency era, so kind of Jane Austen-esque, and they kind of use that famous line from the beginning of Pride and Prejudice to describe this book, where essentially this man is looking for a bride, but he has a very detailed list of the qualities that he requires of a wife. And so the woman, the love interest, is one who decides like to kind of create a list of her own, and she has a friend who wants to seek revenge on Mr. Malcolm, and so there seems to potentially be an enemies to lover thing going on here. Maybe. I'm a little bit less clear on this one, but essentially it just seems like it's going to be like a battle of wits, which I'm here for. But it just seems like it's going to be fun, and that's really all I'm looking for in historical romance. Like, I want fun, I want steam. I get really upset people when there is no steam. Like, I've realized that much about myself when it comes to romance. Like, the fade to black, like, let's put it this way. I'm okay with fade to black if there are actual sex scenes also included in the book. Like, you don't need to get explicit on me every single time. You can titillate me a little bit with a couple fade to blacks, and I'll be fine. But if I'm reading a romance novel, I kind of expect the steam. I kind of expect the sex scenes. And so if the entire book is just like riddled with fade to blacks, it doesn't do it for me. So that's the like only thing I know about myself when it comes to romances at this point. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it there because I am starving and I have a live stream discussion with Margaret in like 45 minutes or so I need to eat before that. But I'll check in with you later. Bye. Hello! Hi! We're finally here. I feel like it has been a minute since I filmed that intro clip. Like, and it, quite honestly, it has been a minute. It has been a long time. Like, at this point, the Romanceathon is already over and I am just starting these historical romances. But I did finally start Mr. Malcolm's List by Suzanne Elaine, I believe is how they said it in the audiobook, this morning. I'm about 15 or 16% in, and it's cute. Like, that's the best way to describe it. It's just really, really cute. So Mr. Malcolm, Jeremy, starts off this book meeting with his friend Casey, who basically is doing some sort of reconnaissance for his cousin Julia, because Mr. Malcolm took Julia out and then just decided not to pursue it, and Julia is irate and wants to know why. And so he's trying to find out from Mr. Malcolm what happened. And all of a sudden, Mr. Malcolm, Jeremy, pulls out this list from like his pocket and is just like, oh, here, it's because she didn't meet attribute 4. And and I just want to say, yes, it felt a little bit contrived, because firstly I'm just like, who does that? Who just carries around a list of like attributes and is like, okay, here's my list of all the things I want in a wife, and you're like, that I can refer to, like, as a reference like tool. Like, who does that? And also, who would admit to their friend that they have like a list of things that they're looking for that they've written down in a list? That part feels a little bit weird, and like it could have been handled in some other way. So that felt a little bit forced. But essentially, like, Julia wasn't able to have like intelligent enough conversation for Mr. Malcolm's liking. He asked her about some corn act or corn law, and she gave some kind of ditzy response, and also apparently she batted her eyelashes a little bit too much. But so Casey now has information and goes and blabs it to his cousin, who then is like hell-bent on revenge, which is what kicks off the entire book, because in enters Selena, who is a friend of Julia's, whom Julia has basically like forced to participate in this revenge plot, where essentially they want Mr. Malcolm to fall for and be interested in Selena so that Selena can like turn him down and be like, ha! In your face. Except there's a problem, because yes, Mr. Malcolm is intrigued and enchanted by Selena, but Selena is also very intrigued and enchanted by him and basically thinks that he is like Adonis. So there are already like sparks there between these two characters at the point where I've left off. The only thing I would say is that I'm not necessarily feeling any sort of like sexual tension or like fire between these two characters. And I mean, they haven't interacted all that much yet. Like there's been a ball scene and then a brief living room scene and a carriage ride in Hyde Park, which is kind of where I left off. So they really haven't had all that much time to interact with one another, but I'm not necessarily feeling any sort of way with like banter or like physicality or anything between them. So I am hoping that with a little bit more like time and interaction between these two characters that it will happen. But it is a fairly short audiobook, so I'm kind of like, let's get moving. Because it's only 6 hours long. I am over an hour in, I think. And I'm just like, yeah, I need some steam. Here's hoping that angle picks up. But otherwise, it is just a really cute book so far, so I'm going to keep reading. But yeah, that is an update for you. I'm going to go because I'm exhausted. I've been sitting in front of this camera now for hours, literal hours, batch filming videos and vlog clips and all that stuff. So now it's time for me to go unwind and actually enjoy my Saturday. But I will talk to you later. Bye. Hello! Checking in. It is Tuesday and I have been a very, very bad vlogger so far. First off, what do we think of the new glasses? What do we think? They're from Warby Parker. I'm kind of a fan, kind of loving them, but also it's like hyper clear right now because this is day one of me trying to wear a new prescription. So that's fun. But anywho, hi, hello. I am here to give you an update on Mr. Malcolm's List, which I finished earlier this afternoon. The audiobook was like 5.5-ish hours, and so I kind of binged it. Like, I really listened to the lion's share of it in like 2 sittings from yesterday and today, and it was cute, but not my favorite. Like, there was a lot of stuff that was kind of lacking for me for this story overall. The first of which is that I feel like it was literally just a very cookie cutter, like, Regency story. Like, let's have a couple balls, let's have a carriage ride, let's have a couple of dinners, let's have a weekend in the country type thing. Like, let's throw all of those things that you would expect from any, like, Regency, like, period movie or TV show or book, and let's just put it in this very short romance novel type thing. So it felt very kind of cookie cutter, maybe even like borderline cliche. Overall, I wish there had been far more like character development in general. Like, the characters kind of felt very two-dimensional and shallow, especially Jeremy Malcolm and Selena Dalton, who are the, like, couple in this story. I didn't, like, Selena was definitely one of the more likable characters, but I just didn't feel like there was much depth to her, or much of, like, any real chemistry between the two characters. And, like, let's just put it out there, if you are reading a romance novel for, like, steam or smut, you're not gonna get it here. To be quite honest, it was pretty chaste, like, with the exception of a couple, like, kisses / makeout scenes, nothing happens. Like, nothing. And so I don't know that I was, like, totally invested in them as characters as a couple, because I feel like they could have been so great. They were both very intelligent and witty and there should have just been more. Like, a lot of what it came down to in the description was, like, physical attraction to one another, and I just feel like there could have been a lot of witty banter here, because they basically try to set this up as being, like, Pride and Prejudice with Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth. And I know there isn't, like, steam in Pride and Prejudice, but you get the tension in their dialogue and in the banter and the back and forth, and it just wasn't here. Like, I could see some of the, like, influence of a Pride and Prejudice, because this is a lot about literally Jeremy Malcolm's pride and his, like, prejudices when it comes to, like, women that he is courting or considering for proposal, marriage, whatever words are escaping me. But so you can see that in them, and a lot of this is really about, like, the misunderstandings between these two characters constantly, partly because there always seem to be characters, like, meddling in their affairs, but partly their own doing as well. So you could see kind of the influence of Pride and Prejudice here in, like, a very sort of superficial way. But that was really it. As far as character development goes, this one character, Julia, who is Selena's friend and is the reason that Selena gets involved in, like, this plot, is just really nasty. But then, like, around the 60% mark, kind of around the climax of the book, when shit hits the fan, she all of a sudden becomes, like, tolerable. Like, her personality completely shifts, and I don't necessarily know that I buy that. But yeah, in addition to all of that, I do feel like this was a case of, like, a lot of telling, not showing, and I think that's just, the book could have been expanded. I mean, it is fairly short. I don't know how many pages exactly, but it's like a 5.5-hour audiobook, so it really couldn't be that long. I want to say it's probably between 200 and 250 pages tops. So in keeping it so short, it just, there was a lot that was left out that I think would have made it a, like, meatier story, a more interesting story, one where the author didn't feel that they need to spell out everything for you because you might not get the hint. And in most cases, I got the hint, so it kind of defeated the purpose of telling me exactly what happened, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense. But yeah, there was nothing offensive about the book, like, nothing at all, but I just feel that it's mediocre at best. I think I'm gonna end up giving it 3 stars, but I feel like it's a low 3 stars, because it's not that I hated it, it's just that it was just okay. It was very mediocre for me, and just, like, I feel like by the end of this vlog, I will have forgotten everything that transpired in this novel, so I have a feeling it's going to be pretty forgettable. So that was a little disappointing. I'd say this author is not my cup of tea based on that. It was bingeable, as I said, so there was something about it that was entertaining, but just not enough necessarily to make me want to read more by this author or potentially read, like, any books in a series, although I don't think this is a series. I'm pretty sure it's a standalone. But anywho, so that's that one. So I'm turning out to be fabulous at vlogging for this historical romance vlog, because I started book 2, A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem by Amanda Collins, and then I proceeded to read it in almost one sitting. So I read like 25 to 30 pages on a whim day before yesterday, and then I literally devoured the other like 300 pages of it without moving from my bed. So yeah, I would say that it was really bingeable. A testament to the fact that I just sat in bed and read for hours and hours to finish it. As far as filling the void that I've been saying Evie Dunmore left in my life while I wait for book 3 in her series, I do think that this does a pretty satisfactory job. I actually found it really entertaining, and I liked the sort of feminist angles that were in the book overall, which are what made it feel similar to the Evie Dunmore books. Those books have the suffragettes in Victorian England, but this book has a main character, Lady Catherine, who has some very, progressive ideas about feminism, considering she's a Victorian woman. I mean, she has very strong opinions on marriage, especially how a woman's property transfers to her husband and how little say and control the women have as a result of that. Also, kind of the different, I guess, limitations that women face within society based on what society tells them is ladylike and proper and what's improper, and how a lot of that is dictated by not only men who have their opinions on what women can and cannot do, but also policed by other women. So there's a lot of commentary on that in the book, which I thought was really enjoyable. So the book is about this female journalist who is writing about crimes in London, and one of her articles that she co-authors helps lead to an arrest and kind of leads to this rabbit hole where she becomes involved in the investigation of similar murders to the one that she had covered in the article, and the love interest is the detective who is on those cases. And this would be, I think, a case of an enemies to lover sort of romance, where Andrew, blames Catherine for basically getting demoted in his career because of her article. And so they start off not on the best footing at all. So it's definitely that sort of romance as an FYI. I would say that this feels more like a murder mystery with a romance element, perhaps. The romance is there, but until you get deep into the book, it doesn't feel really like it's the focus, which is maybe why I enjoyed it quite a bit, because there did seem to be this other element going on throughout it. One of my critiques is that I do think that the romance, especially the first kiss interaction that happens, feels a little bit like it came out of left field or right field or whatever that expression is. I am not a sports person, so don't quote me on that, but it felt a little bit abrupt, and I felt like some of those earlier interactions between them also felt a little abrupt. I wish there had been more time with them, because I do actually like them as a couple. I thought the steamy scenes were really great. I thought that the chemistry between them was pretty sound, in my opinion. It's just that maybe the pacing of it was a little off at the beginning of the book. So what I will say is that I liked the fact that these are two characters who seem mature enough to actually talk through their issues, because there were plenty of opportunities in this book where you could have the sort of miscommunications between the two love interests that then lead to dust-ups and all sorts of conflict that sometimes just feel really contrived and silly. But these two actually talk through things, which I felt like was mature, and I liked it. So yeah, I did really enjoy this. I just wish that kind of the chemistry between these two was a little bit more prevalent at the start of the book, because I think that would have been really, really strong. But I really enjoyed it. I feel like there are pretty mixed reviews on this one, but I binged it, and there's a second book that I think is coming out later this year in the series, which is about two characters that are in the same universe who we've already met, and so I will definitely pick that one up. So now that I'm kind of talking through this is probably a 4-star read for me. Like I said, it's not perfect. Like, there's room for improvement here, but I do think that it was really, really entertaining, and so no complaints there. But anywho, now that that book is done, the last book that I'm reading for this vlog is going to be A Lady's Formula for Love. I'm hoping to start that today. I only have like 3 days left in the month, so I gotta hop to it. But that is kind of the plan at the moment, to start this, maybe get 100 pages in this evening, read 100 more pages tomorrow, and then finish it off on Wednesday and call it a day for my historical romance vlog. So stay tuned for that. I will try to be better about checking in with this one. Hi! How you doing? Welcome back. So checking in this very, very hot morning in New York, because I am now about 2/3 of the way through A Lady's Formula for Love by Elizabeth Everett, which I started yesterday, I think? I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, and I realized I haven't given an update. So this is another Victorian historical romance that I'm reading for this vlog, with sort of feminist vibes or feminist leanings to it. The main character, Lady Violet, is a scientist in Victorian England. She's a little bit eccentric, and she's basically created this clandestine secret society of like-minded women. So other women in Victorian London who have an interest and affinity towards the natural sciences. She's created this like Athena's retreat where these women can go and conduct their experiments and kind of have this sisterhood of female scientists in a time when it's a male-dominated sort of profession and field in general, and women being interested is kinda a no-go. Like, it's not well received. And she's working on something for the crown that has kind of made her a target. There's been a lot of like subterfuge and we think attempts on her life that are very, very concerning. And so her stepson has actually hired this man who I believe is described as a counter-assassin, Andrew, to be like her bodyguard and to make sure nothing else happens to her. And obviously he is the love interest. I'm putting this down because my arm hurt, and I'm gonna switch over. That's my weak arm. So it starts off, it's like instantaneous like romance type thing where the first interaction between these two is like they're both incredibly attracted to one another. He like jumps on top of her to like save her from something. I forget what it was in particular that happened, but he jumps into action as her bodyguard, and like that moment of physical contact, all of a sudden they're both like hooked to one another. I would say that this isn't going to be a like historical romance for someone who likes more of a slow burn, because it is like instantaneous in their like infatuation with one another. And I would say that actually the first kiss between them happens pretty early, and the first like intimate scene also happens very early, which kind of surprised me because I don't know a lot about romance as a genre, as I have admitted time and time again, but I'm kind of used to like the like big bow chicka wow wow moment happening at almost exactly 50% of the way into the book. But stuff happens way before that. And I was kind of surprised by it, to be quite honest. I would also say that potentially this is more smutty than the other two books that I have read. Like, what is the difference? What is the distinction between steam and smut? Like, for me, I think in this case, it's that it's slightly more explicit than the other two books, in the sexual scenes, or the sex scenes, or whatever you want to call them, that are happening. So there is that. I don't know how I'm feeling overall about the book, though. Like, I'm getting through it really quickly, but I don't know. I'm not hating it. I'm not loving it either. I like certain aspects of it a lot. Like, I like the scientist angle that's going on with these women. I also like the fact that Violet is this character that she's widowed in the last 5 or so years, and she has this baggage and these like emotional kind of traumas, so to speak, because her husband made her feel that being a lady with like sexual desires was like gross and indecent and immoral and all of these things. So she's very uncomfortable with the way that she feels about Andrew and like her desire for him. And Andrew himself kind of picks up on this and is very much in the position to tell her that it's okay and is constantly telling her it's okay. And I do like the fact that consent plays a big part in the sex scenes that have taken part. Like, he tells her outright, you tell me what you want and what you don't want. And that is very much like his thing. Like, he wants to know exactly what she prefers, what she doesn't like, so that he can please her and satisfy her. And I do think that is a really interesting facet to this romance. And I do like Violet as a character in general. She is kind of lovably awkward and eccentric, which I'm a sucker for because I think I'm probably considered eccentric to most people as well. Switching back here. So yeah, I do like her as a character, but I do think that there are more characters in this book than are probably necessary with all the like different women who are part of the society, then also the women who are outside of the society and kind of have issues with everything that is going on in the society itself. Like, there are a lot of like rivalries between women and a lot of gossip, which I guess is to be expected. And then on top of all of that, there is Grantham, who is a friend of Lady Violet who wants to marry her, and all I could think about was Lord Grantham from Downton Abbey. Like, I couldn't unsee it once I had seen it, and so I'm literally picturing like a young Hugh Bonneville in this role, and it's throwing me off. Like, throwing me off greatly. But yeah, so there are aspects of it that I do like, but it's not a home run for me at this point. I'll be interested in seeing where it's going because as I have like 100 pages left, which I plan to finish after work today. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so far Lady Violet is very cute and very enjoyable. So I'll report back later. So guys, hi there. Checking in because I have finished A Lady's Formula for Love by Elizabeth Everett, which is the last book for this historical romance reading vlog / experiment of mine. I thought it was cute. Like, I did. I think it's pretty solidly a 3-star book for me. Like, there were elements of it that I really enjoyed that I've spoken to you guys about, so I won't rehash them. But I do feel like some of it was just a little bit, like, too smarmy or saccharine, as far as, like, one particular character kind of forgiving someone for something that they do pretty easily, and just, like, the way that, like, the declarations of love and everything, it's, like, super, super saccharine. Like, toothache, if I hadn't just gotten a cavity filled, probably would have caused a cavity. And so it was maybe a little too heavy-handed in that aspect for me, especially as kind of how the book wraps up. But at the same time, I don't know that I completely buy the chemistry between them. Like, the sex scenes are really steamy, borderlining on like smutty or more X-rated than the other books that I read for this vlog, but I don't know. I don't know if I was completely in love with them as a couple in the end. I don't know if I completely bought the world that we were supposed to be transported to. So it was entertaining. I read it in like 3 sittings, like, so really just a few hours. But of the books that I read for this vlog, I would say that this is the one that I was less interested in by the end of it. That being said, the whole experiment with this vlog was for me to kind of see if like romance is a genre that I want to explore, especially like historical romance. And I do think that it's something that I want to try to read a bit more of. I think I'm a little bit picky with my historical romances and romances in general, but I had a lot of fun reading them. Like, it wasn't a chore. Like, this was a lot of fun. Yes, 2 of these were kind of only mediocre at best, in my opinion. Sometimes you just need an enjoyable book, something that you can read like with ease and just kind of escape. Like, these are really good escapist stories is what I'm like getting at, essentially. So yes, this has been a like successful experience for me. So in conclusion, to kind of wrap this up, I did read 3 historical romance books. The first was the audiobook for Mr. Malcolm's List, which was like a Regency romance, and that one was like very PG. Like, we don't even get fade to blacks. There's just not much like action in that way with that one, and I think that's going to be a 3-star for me. Then there was A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem, which I think is going to be a 4-star for me, and was the one that I most enjoyed of the books that I read for this vlog. It's definitely a series that I want to continue. I really enjoyed it, had a good time. It kind of felt more like the Evie Dunmore books, and I really have enjoyed the Evie Dunmore books, so Amanda Collins is another romance author that I'll probably explore, see if she has other books out there. I don't know if this was a debut for her or not, but I do know that there is a second book coming out either this year or in 2022, so I'll certainly keep an eye out for that. And then the last one was A Lady's Formula for Love, which, as I said, probably gonna be a 3-star for me. It was okay, not my favorite, but this was also, like the previous book, a Victorian romance. So the Victorian era has a draw for me. Like, I studied it, I enjoyed it, so it's really not a shocker to me that those are the romances I am also intrigued by. But yeah, that's a wrap for this historical romance reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are a romance reader, especially a historical romance reader, give me some of your recommendations. I'm really curious to further explore this genre slash subgenre. But as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!